Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics, and with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today I've got a special episode in line because I'm looking at PowerPack number 19, the Thanksgiving issue, which as of today, it's the day before Thanksgiving, and I thought that it would be appropriate that we do look at a Thanksgiving comic book. There's not really that many Thanksgiving comics or anything else, really. There's not like many Thanksgiving shows or whatever. But this one is pretty special for me because I really enjoyed it when I was younger. And I got it when I was pretty much starting reading comics and collecting comics and stuff. And so the only real reason I got it, because I never read PowerPack, and this might be actually the only real PowerPack comic that I have, is because of obviously Wolverine. I love the X-Men and Beta Ray Bill. I love Thor and Shadowcat, and it had all these other stuff in it that I really enjoyed. And I'm clearing away some of the sawdust here because I'm still working on my room here where I'm doing this filming and stuff. But it's really special for me because I got it, and like I got every crossover for the X-Men that I could find or that they produced at the time. And maybe that was kind of silly of me at the time, but I did it. It wasn't a big deal. There's lots of books that I kind of wish that I hadn't gotten or picked up because of that. But I really enjoyed this one. I picked it up and I reread it. I reread it so many times when I was younger, and then I kind of put it away and kind of forgot about it. And but it really was an enjoyable book for me, and we're going to go through it, and I'll tell you why. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access, which is up to issue 25. I don't have the newest issue. I'll have that next video and show it to you guys. But it's up to number 25, and it's full size, full color comic book that I produce every month. And it's got 12 pages, and 10 of them are my story, and a couple of our pages are backup stories by Paul Courtjohn and Christopher Knox, or whoever else decides to play in my little publishing world. You can get these at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can get them at alexanderturbin.com, which is where you can also get Mutandis and Forlorn and Cyrene and all the other books that I've made in my publishing career. So let's get back to the PowerPack, our Thanksgiving special. It is, I fully know that it's a guilty pleasure. Like it's like sitting down and watching a Lifetime movie and really digging it. For me, that's how I feel anyway. Kind of like Stargate or Farscape or stuff like that. Stuff that's a little bit on the cheesy side, but I still love it anyway. This is definitely that. This PowerPack is a little bit cheesy, but I love this issue anyway. It's kind of like the feeling you got when you were little and you came in from the cold and the rain and after school, and you sat down and you watched an after school special about some weird thing, or I don't know. Or am I the only one that remembers after school specials? But PowerPack, yeah, as everybody knows, or maybe you don't know, this they were 4 kids giving superpowers by aliens and to stop an intergalactic war, and that's really basically all I know about the storyline and the characters. I do know that issue 205 of the X-Men, which I did review, that solo issue by Barry Windsor Smith, has Energizer from the PowerPack, and it's cool that they're integrated into the X-Men because I think mostly because Louise Simonson was a helper or an assistant or something to Chris Claremont. I know that she was part of that whole group of people, Chris Claremont and John Byrne and all of these people that did the X-Men during his most creative or formative years, especially a little bit after the John Byrne years. Where there was just like a group of people and they were just making the X-Men, and they were making these other groups of comics, New Mutants, PowerPack, and some of the other stuff. And they were just really, really great comics. So let's get into the story. I'm not going to talk about the art and the writing so much because I just, I like the writing. It's Louise Simonson. She's gone on to do a lot of really cool things, and she's the wife of Walter Simonson, who's my favorite artist of all time. And it's just a nice little story about Thanksgiving and kind of why we should give thanks and not really not dwell on the things that we can't control and the things we shouldn't be thankful for, but really be thankful for the things that we are that we do have. So the writer's Louise Simonson, and the pencils are from Brent Anderson and Scott Williams, which Brent Anderson, as you know, is the artist for God Loves, Man Kills. And yes, I will be going over this this graphic novel at some point. This is one of my favorite X-Men stories of all time, and I think any X-Men fan will probably love it. It looks quite different than the individual issue here, probably because of the inks, which are Terry Austin, Scott Williamson, and Sam De La Rosa, whereas this was inked by like I guess Eric Anderson did all of it, all of the work, the inking and the pencils and everything. So that's why it looks a little bit different than that. But we will definitely be going through that because I deeply love it. So let's go through the story. You have Energizer, and then you have I can't remember his name, Erg, I think. Yep, Erg. Sorry about the coughing. I've got my cough back. It's kind of weird. Hope it's not throat cancer or some kind of cancer. That would really blow and really suck the fun out of Thanksgiving. But it starts out, and Erg is kind of pretending to be a bad guy and shoots some energy at Energizer, and she grabs it and throws it back at him like they're playing with a ball. And they just have this kind of little bit of dialogue between them about how she's learning her powers better and how he's doing and how she's doing. And he gives her the invitation back that she sent to the Morlocks. And another one of these things is that this is pretty close to Mutant Massacre, and so it's really brings home the Morlocks and who they are, and like some of the other characterizations of them, and it really kind of brings home the tragedy of the Mutant Massacre, which was killed a lot of the Morlocks, even though none of the real main ones, which is kind of too bad. I kind of wish they had killed, Erg or some of the other ones, which really would have been sad, especially if they had killed Leech or Artie. Imagine if they had killed Leech or Artie. That would have been horrible. But anyway, he says that they got the invitation to her party, her Thanksgiving party, because she's throwing a Thanksgiving party, as we know now. And some of them can make it, but a lot of them can't, but they're sure she's going to have a great party. So she's in an alleyway. That's why they're talking about is she scared that somebody will notice? Because a lot of this comic, it's the people with powers being afraid to show them to regular people, which is kind of odd because you would think in this Marvel universe at this time, you would see Spider-Man down the road or Thor down the road or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, big deal, there's Thor, there's Spider-Man, because they're there every day. But They use their powers and all that stuff, and she comes out of the alleyway. The sister is mad at her because she took off, and it's just the PowerPack. Even though I haven't read a lot of issues and I don't really have a huge affinity for them, they're very family centric. I mean, a lot of superhero groups are family centric. Fantastic Four, family centric. X-Men are family centric. But these really truly are families. Like, they're all brothers and sisters. So when they have a squabble or a fight or whatever, or hurt somebody else's feelings or something, it's a little bit even deeper meaning and more meaningful because they are a family and not just part of a team with superpowers and stuff. So this comes into focus the fact that it's Thanksgiving. They want to go to the Thanksgiving parade, or Katie does, and there's also the part of their mother was hurt in one of the previous issues, and it was a Thor crossover where again, it's Louise Simonson, who is the wife of Walter Simonson. And I believe that the dad actually is a caricature of Walter Simonson, which is pretty fantastic. So I'm going to dive off on these rants and these little side things quite often, probably in this book, because it's just a fun, fanciful book. There's no real meaning to it other than, well, I mean, there is a lot of meaning to it and it's actually a quite emotional book, but it's like I said, it's my guilty pleasure because it's PowerPack, and I never really took PowerPack seriously. Maybe I should go back and reread or read some of the PowerPacks and all of them, see if they're as emotionally constructive as this issue, because this really is based on just creating emotions, and it's not and there's no real fight scenes, there's no bad guys, there's no villains. It's all about people getting together and enjoying Thanksgiving and being thankful for things that they have, and not still being worried about other things, but be still also being thankful for what they do have and not unthankful for the things that they don't have, which is really kind of an incredible thing from a comic book. So this is also where, like I said, they reveal that the mom was hurt in the fight against Curse, which is a crossover for Thor, which is what I said. And she's got a bad infection, and they don't know if she's going to live or whatever. So they're deeply worried about her. They decide to fly home and screw if somebody sees them and their powers. Then we cut to Beta Ray Bill, and he's taking care of Franklin for the Thanksgiving and going to the Thanksgiving parade because the Fantastic Four are off on some adventure, and he was given permission by their butler or whatever to take care of Franklin, which is pretty cool. All of these little crossovers, I mean, I'm a sucker for a crossover. I don't care. I'll say it right now. I love crossovers. I love little crossovers. I love big crossovers. I've done crossovers in my own comics, so that's just how it is. I'm a sucker for crossovers. So then we go to the next scene where the two older boys, which I don't know their names. I can't remember. Alex. I think Alex is this one, and I don't know the other one. And Alex, apparently he feels like he's the reason that his mom got hurt because he wanted to be a superhero or something, and wanted to fight bad guys, and he was so overzealous in trying to do that kind of stuff that he didn't really take on the implications that people do get hurt in these superhero battles, and his mom was one of the people that did get hurt. And the dad is going off to the hospital. He's leaving the kids to have Thanksgiving on their own, which, the wife probably would be pissed about. But he's so deeply worried about her because it looks like that she's really going to probably die from this infection. And he just wants to be with her. And he's just trying to hold it together and not be too scared and show the kids that everything, might not be okay with the mom. So he takes off and he tries to get them to take care of themselves and have a Thanksgiving dinner and stuff. And he's trying not to get them worried and stuff. But Alex, he knows what's going on, and the father did tell Alex that it's not looking good and that the mother might die. He didn't say that, but I mean he implied it very quite a bit that she could possibly die, that the infection was really bad. So Alex is really freaking out, and he's super scared for his mom, and he blames himself, and he's throwing the picture that, and he's just so angry. Cut to the next scene. One of these things with the things with all of these kind of, I'm not going to say floofy, but it's a giant size issue. A lot of these giant size issues are there's just so much information to pack into them, so they have to get through as much as they can. So a lot of the scenes jump from place to place, from character to character. But if you already know who the characters are, it's not like an indie comic this is the first issue and you don't know any of the characters and stuff. But if you know who Cloak and Dagger are, and Wolverine and all of these characters, then you don't really need any kind of intro or anything like that. But they do, as Marvel always does. They intertwine in the storyline, their powers, their introduction, the how they came to be and stuff. So they're in an alley, and there was a mugger, and Cloak is about to do this thing where he puts the bad guy into his cloak, and it's like some other dimension or something like that, and he goes through this horrific scenery or something, but he stops when he stops doing it, and Dagger asks him why, and he says it's because he reminds him of him when he was younger, before they had taken the drugs, and because he stuttered, and what life could have been if they had continued to be on the street alone and stuff. I think they're still homeless and on the street and stuff, but at least they're together and they have powers and stuff like that. So they just kind of talk about it being Thanksgiving, and there's really nothing to be thankful for anyway, and they're really just kind of down on stuff, on life and everything, which is really what a lot of this book is. The whole book is a lot of incidences and stuff like that are really downers, like the mom's sick, and Cloak and Dagger are homeless, and just a lot of these things that you could take and you could just spin it as being a negative completely and totally, and not a Thanksgiving celebration of a comic book. The dad's about to leave, and some of these scenes are just so great and powerful, and it reminds you of how powerful comic books can be. I was having a discussion with somebody last week, and we're working on a project. And I said I really want it to be emotionally impactful, because I really feel like comic books, if they're emotionally impactful, then they resonate with the reader, and the reader remembers it forever. A fight scene, a fight comic where it's just people slugging it out, that's great, that's awesome, that's fantastic. The art can be great, the writing can be great, and the story can be great, but if it doesn't have any emotional impact, you're not going to remember it. You're not remembering the things from the Watchmen or whatever, where it's a fight scene. You're remembering the small emotional things between characters, the small scenes between characters that really resonate. And this is one of the scenes. She's asking her dad if her mom is going to be okay, and she says, "Is she going to be all right?" And he just looks at her. He doesn't say anything. And just the fantastic way that the artist has this little girl, and she's just wondering what is going to happen, and her eyes are wide open, and her mouth is agape, and the dad, his chin is furrowed, and he's looking down, and he's so sorrowful, and he doesn't know what to tell her, so he doesn't say anything at all. So that is just such a fantastic feat in comic books. And Brett Anderson, I don't really know a lot of other stuff that he's worked on other than the X-Men annual graphic novel there, whether he did all of PowerPack or whether it was somebody else that did PowerPack. I'm going to probably have to look and see. But his showing of emotion and combined with the writing of Louis Simonson is really, really fantastic. Just in this one panel, it really drives home how impactful comic books can be, and what a fantastic medium it is. So we have the older daughter, and she's supposed to get Thanksgiving together and everything, and she's really super scared about the mom as well. We cut to the scene of Annabelle and Leech, and Annabelle is an empath, and she can make people around her feel like super happy or super sad or super angry or whatever. And she's lost control of her power many times. And she was in the X-Men, and she was in PowerPack before this. And Leech is there, and he counteracts all of mutant powers. So she lost her children to, I think it was some sort of sickness or plague or something. So she has this deep-seated emotional trauma going on, and she would, if not for Leech, she would probably just let this emotional trauma consume her and just make everybody in the whole world just want to curl up and die. But she was invited by Katie to be part of this Thanksgiving party, and she's really super excited about it because she feels like the PowerPack could be surrogates for her dead children, and she really wants to be a part of their lives and really really grasp onto that whole possible reconnection with a family and her lost children, which is really powerful. But Leech, who's just this horrible looking creature, I've seen Leech in a lot of different comics, and he just, in this, he looks really bad. I mean, bad as in good. He's got these warps all over him. It's this beautiful rendering, and just the way that he's drawn and rendered, and she's horrible to him because he's this horrible looking creature, and he just reminds her, probably because he's so horrible looking and looks like death, that her own kids are dead, and she doesn't want him to ruin her party with the PowerPack. So she locks him in a little closet or whatever, and this little cat that he has is trying to get to him because they're like best friends or whatever. So we're back at the PowerPack house, and Alex is all mopey and sobby and stuff, and they're all just not really having a good time. Katie, she's doing her best to look on the positive side and the bright side, which is one of the greatest things about her character, is that she's just so positive, and I think that was intentionally done. And it's really, it goes back to X-Men 205, where she's with Wolverine and they're having that fight scene, and she just maintains a positive attitude even through the darkest times, which is really, really fantastic. But Alex blames himself. He's angry at the world, and she's been taking phone calls from people that are going to show up at her party or not show up at her party, and all week, and he's just angry about it, and they're making all this food, extra food that she organized and stuff, because she knows there's a party and nobody else does, and he's just kind of freaking out and pissed off. Then we cut to Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, and they are talking about how her parents are breaking up, and she had just done Kitty Pryde, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. No, Kitty Pryde, something, Ninja, something like that. I can't remember. I didn't read that one. It wasn't like, did that come out same time that the Wolverine miniseries came out? I know that they met each other in Japan, I think. Because she goes to Japan, and her dad was into something. I don't know. He became a criminal, crook or something, and he was stealing money or something like that. And so she's lamenting on that, and she's all pissed off that her parents broke up at all and they're not together and stuff. So Wolverine's just kind of like there, and he's not really saying much, and he doesn't have any family at all, so he's just kind of enjoying being there. And for once, Wolverine isn't the dark and brooding one. It's pretty much everybody else in the comic book except for Katie. So then we cut to the scene with Leech, and he's in this box, and it's just so heartbreaking that Annabelle would put him in this box. All he wants to do is be her friend and take care of her. He wants her to be his mother, and he really loves her, and she just does not want any part of it. But Ape Boy, or whatever, Ape, maybe, I think is Ape Boy, Ape something, lets him go, and Leech goes looking for Annabelle. I think that's her name, Annabelle. He goes looking for her, even though she threw him in the closet, and he loves her. He's going looking for her anyway. Cut to the PowerPack scene. Alex grabs the phone. He realizes that there's a party brewing, and that Katie invited all these people to a party, and he just thinks that's the most selfish thing in the world, because all she wants to do is have fun and throw a party, and he's really worried about the mom, and they just really let her have it. And they just attack her, Alex, and the sister. The sister is really worried about the mom and just thinks it's a horrible thing that she did. And so she just goes berserk, and she just takes off. They are sad or upset that she did take off, or Alex takes off at the same time. So they both take off. Katie and Alex take off. So that the brother and sister, they're like, well, we got to go find them and help. Leech does jump out of the manhole cover in the sewers and stuff, and tries to find Anna Lee. Then we cut to another scene in the spaceship. We're not going to even look at that because it has nothing to do with the Thanksgiving aspect of the comic. Alex turns his costume on. He can't fly, and he's just having a hard time because it's super windy and gusty, which is foreshadowing for what happens into the next comic. And also, he comes and he finds Dagger and Cloak, and they're just kind of discussing about how he feels and how he wants to run away, and they're like, we ran away from our problems, and it's not a good idea, and you always have to think of the best, and if you can not blame yourself for a lot of these things that happen, because we know it's not your fault, whatever it was, then it's just it's for the best, and to try to cheer up, and they're just trying to cheer him up and stuff. So we get to the actual parade, and Katie's there, Franklin's there, and she's all mad because they were yelling at her and stuff. And the other two are looking for them and scouring the parade for them. Then one of the balloons, because even though there isn't a villain, there has to have something, entertaining or whatever happening. So Annalee spots Leech, and she's really angry that he came looking for her. She gets angry. She wants to hurt Leech. So her powers kick in, and all of the people holding the balloons let go of the balloons, and they start wanting to attack Leech and kill Leech. So the balloons take off, and one of the kids gets his ankle wrapped up in one of the wires that was holding the balloon, and it takes off into the air. And the PowerPack jump into the fray and do their best. Shadowcat is going to help him, and Wolverine cuts the lines, and so they're doing their superhero thing. Even though they're not fighting a bad guy, it's still them being heroes and trying their best to do what they do and calm the situation down. They all realize that it's Annalee. They all realize that it's some sort of psychic attack, and even though they can fight back, they know that the regular people out there, they won't fight back. So the balloons keep floating away, and there's just like this crazy mob scene going on. I'm going to cut through this alien stuff, even though I really love the rendering and the shading on this alien creature. So Mickey Mouse starts to float away. Katie grabs Franklin and is like, Beta Ray Bill transforms, and he tries to stop all of the bad stuff that's happening. He rescues this guy. I don't know why there's a car upside down that was going to crush this guy. It's not that windy. But he saves somebody, which is what Beta Ray would do. And these guys kind of slink off, and they hop on Mighty Mouse, and she cuts all the wires, and her plan is to float Mighty Mouse because it is the most favorite balloon of her mother, and she knows her mother's sick, and she can't really confront all of the fears and all of the emotions that she's having because of that, because she's a little kid. So she's just trying to do whatever she can to get her mother better and to get her mother feeling better. So she's going to bring her favorite balloon, which is Mighty Mouse, to her mother at the hospital. Cloak and Dagger and Alex, they realize what's going on with Annalee and Leech, so he gets them to teleport closer to Annalee and closer to Leech, so that Leech can get closer to her, so it negates her powers. And so they do that, and then they teleport up to a balcony or something, so that they can more privately discuss their problems and everything like that. Mighty Mouse is flying around in the air, and Katie and Franklin somehow figure out how to use the ropes and the cords and stuff to kind of guide it to where the hospital is. It's kind of unusual that she actually knows where the hospital is that her mother is at. But I'm kind of considering that all of the kids have probably had to grow up a little bit faster than they normally would, going through this whole getting superpowers and meeting an alien and all that stuff. So they probably have matured a lot faster than they normally would have. But they're bringing Mighty Mouse to the room, and the dad's there and the mom's there, and she's in a coma, and the dad's like, "Hey, it's Mighty Mouse," and but it's gonna smash into the building, and he's all upset about that. But then they use the cords, and they pull Mighty Mouse, and they flip it up as much as they can, and they avoid crashing into the building with the giant balloon. Then Beta Ray Bill finds them and rescues them because they fall off of Mighty Mouse and because they let go of the ropes and stuff. He finds them. He grabs Mighty Mouse. He pulls Mighty Mouse back to the parade people. And the dad is like, "Whoa, that was a close one." They land, and all of the kids are back together again, except for Alex, I guess. And Wolverine and Shadowcat are there, and they're just talking about Thanksgiving and on all of this stuff, and being angry at everything. And they're like, "Well, there's food at the house. Let's go eat." And anyway, even if it's not going to be a party, because none of them are feeling like a party. And then this scene where Leech points to Annalie, and he calls her his mama, and she's like, I'm not her mother. I hate Leech. He's horrible. He's a monster. And then she realizes that he got out of the crate, and even though she did that to him, he still went after her because he loves her and he wants to help her. So they kind of gain this relationship of mother and son, which is really kind of a touching moment in the book, which it's really, really touching. Really, when you think about it, the whole book is very, very emotional and very touching, and I love it. So they resolve this dispute or whatever. So much of this book is the characters having disputes and fighting and being angry with each other, and then resolving it at some sort. And then Katie's like, well, you guys better leave, and because everyone's mad at me, and I guess the party's over and stuff. And this is one of the great parts. It's so reminding me of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I think no, not Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's the one with what's his name? Is it Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? With the guy that's in Uncle Buck. I can't remember now. Where they go through this whole rigmarole trying to get back to their loved ones for Christmas and stuff. And Steve Martin. It's Steve Martin and John Candy. John Candy and Steve Martin, and they use every method they can to get back to their loved ones for Christmas, going through Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I'm pretty sure that's the one. And John Candy does all of these crazy things, and they're really stupid, and they put them in danger. And every time he does that, they get further and further away. And then eventually they get back to where Steve Martin is going to be with his family. And he looks back, and John Candy's like, well, okay, bye. But he realizes that he has nowhere to go. And he offers him, even though all of this horrible stuff happened, a place in his home for the holidays. And really that's what this is all about, because she says that she invited all of the people that she knew that were either having a hard time, or they didn't have any family, or they just, they didn't have anywhere to go. And it's Thanksgiving, and even though they have all of these problems and they don't often have a lot of things that to be thankful for, they can at least be together and be thankful for that. So they decide to actually have the Thanksgiving party, and they eat Thanksgiving dinner, and they enjoy each other's company and stuff. And then they leave, and it's just kind of a wrap up where Kitty learns that even though she's mad at her parents, they're still there, and all of this stuff. It's about bringing hope, and really, what's a comic book superhero story better than bringing on hope? So really, that's how it ends. The dad comes home, and nothing has changed with the mom. It's not like a Thanksgiving miracle where the mom automatically woke up from the coma or whatever, but it doesn't matter, because they still have some Thanksgiving dinner left for him. And he too starts to realize that even though his wife is in a coma and she might die, that, he still has his kids, and they're wonderful. And there are some things to be thankful for. So there you go. PowerPack number 19 by Louise Simonson and Brent Anderson and company. And it's a Thanksgiving special. So usually I review indie comics, and stuff like that. So if you like that kind of content, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell and all that stuff. Or if you just like comic books in general, because, sometimes you come across a comic book that just it resonates with you for some reason or other. It's whether it's you just went through a breakup, or your mom and dad got divorced, or something like that, anything. And that's really how comic books can be on a monthly basis, where you're going into their lives, and you're sharing their thoughts and their feelings, and it can become very comforting to know, even though all of the bad stuff that's happening in your life, you have that to fall back on, that you can go and look in on somebody doing heroic things or stuff like that. But that's what it is. So it's PowerPack 19. It's a long video. Thanks for sticking with me, and I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you all have a really awesome Thanksgiving. And even if you've got crappy stuff going on in your lives, I hope you realize that there are things to be thankful for, even if they're the most minute kind of thing. There still are things that are worth being thankful for. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time, and keep on creating.